Look at these titles. Does anyone care about this? What if Nebula joined the Nova Corps? There's one Nebula stan, and that's me! And I don't care about this. No, let's be real here, guys. This is not the wild creativity we were hoping for from a show whose premise is what if. If you're like me, then I'm very sorry. But you're also probably hoping for something like, what if the other half got snapped? What if X-Men? What if Gender Bend? What if Avengers Battle Royale? What if DC? What if anime? What if Cap was allowed to be gay? It's clearly the more interesting plotline. What if they remembered Wanda's character development? What I'm trying to say here is, what if Happy Hogan Saved Christmas is not exactly an A-list idea, and you shouldn't be running out of ideas at season 2. Now, I don't want to come across too mean, because I love What If, but it does seem a bit like season 2 was written entirely inside of a wind tunnel, or perhaps between several severe brain injuries. Yes, I am exaggerating for comedic effect. Thank you for noticing. I'll do it again before we're done. Let me show you. We shall now rank every episode of Season 2 of What If, and I will give voice to that gnawing feeling inside you, that weird itch, that confusion as to why you didn't like this season. I mean, at least not as much. It's still What If, it's still good. Like, I don't make content for E.T. on the Atari 2600 because I genuinely don't care. The only reason I'm going to be so critical with this show is because I really love it, and I think it can be so much better than it is now. Yes, the premise of 2024 is if you keep beating it, it will learn. Let's go. Oh, God, what is wrong with me? Put your hands down, that was rhetorical. What if Nebula joined the Nova Corps? Marvel doing a cyberpunk murder mystery is really fun. And not using an A-list character for this, taking a smaller character and developing them further is always an absolute treat. Too bad it's just not well executed. Nebula is not interesting enough to hold a 20-minute story. I'm not even sure she's interesting enough to hold a 2-minute commercial.
It commands, you obey! It commands, you obey! You obey!
Also, I wouldn't let her hold my drink, let alone an episode of What If. This is sad. Nebula has been done well. Her and Stark have an awesome dynamic, but Nebula's just not given the same quality here. You can tell they know this too, relying mostly on Howard the Duck and the ever-perfect ray of sunshine, my boy Korg, to spice things up. A fine idea. She's a straight man and they're the funny man. It's a dynamic that can work really well, but it doesn't. Yeah, what does this episode have in common with my Justin Bieber haircut, my purple hoodie, and my cargo pants? It just doesn't come together well. I'm not saying that every time Nebula opens her mouth, it's kind of like listening to the untuned TV static. But, you know. See, murder mystery is a really great idea for Marvel to do, because we already know and are connected to all of these characters. It means you can give more time to the plot and focusing on the mystery itself without having to waste so much time on characterization. We all know Captain America, we all know Iron Man, we're good, we can just move along. So it baffles the mind that when they decide to do a murder mystery, they decide to focus on Nebula, and I don't even remember his name. For those of you in the back, this was the main villain from Captain Marvel, and if you tell me that you recognized him at first, no, you are lying. My homeboy looks like every 30-year-old white person in existence. He does not have a character design. He has a placeholder. This is a stock image. With only 20 minutes to work with, I say either cut the murder mystery and focus on this weird cyberpunk world where Nebula explores, or cut the Nebula stuff and the cyberpunk stuff and focus on a twisty murder mystery with all of our favorites. As it is, they just did both and both poorly, like me trying to be happy and heterosexual. It's kind of a one or the other kind of deal. C. You're damn lucky it didn't come out in a more interesting season. What if Peter Quill attacked the Avengers in 1998? Now, the best part of this setup is very clearly What If Avengers in 1988, but the focus is so clearly not on that it becomes unforgivably mid. This one really is a tragedy in 2 parts. See, the episode is written with Quill's emotional journey as the climax. That's what everything's building towards, it's the big ending, it's the payoff. The thing is, we don't even get to see Peter Quill or hang out with him for like the first half of the episode. You get little bits and bobs, but not nearly enough to withstand him holding up the entire ending. No, either cut the 1988 Avengers or cut Peter Quill, but don't do both in the same episode. It's like trying to do a shepherd's pie and a chocolate cake in the same dish. Neither's bringing their A game. Yeah, you might have noticed a theme emerging. Very good. C. What if Happy Saved Christmas? It's trying to be dumb and fun, and I say it succeeds. I can respect an episode being exactly what it set out to be. It's not mind-blowing, but it's not trying to be. Does this make it the only successful What If episode? No, there is exactly one other episode that we'll see later. Though I do dock points for this not being a What If episode at all. This premise could absolutely have happened in the mainline universe. You do not need a new canon for this. It's a fun idea, but What If is not the place for it. B. Man, I love this show. Are you guys getting that vibe? No. On we go! More criticism! Ahoy! More criticism. Ho. Like land ho. Ahoy. It's really hot in the recording room. Help. What if Iron Man versus the Grandmaster? Man, wasn't this meant to be about Gamora? I'm going to assume this is part 1 and season 3 will further this story. So for that, it's fun. Not amazing, but fun. I mean, let's be real here, there's absolutely no scene Gamora has ever been in that I wouldn't absolutely cut her out of and replace with Jeff Goldblum. The emotional climax, the story with Thanos, just all of it. T. Stark and Jeff Goldblum are both utterly delightful and easily have enough personality to really hard carry this episode. Every other episode of this season, take note. Well, except for you. We'll get to you. Why do you like this? Let me explain. Well, every episode so far has been set at night or in a desert, so it's pretty boring to look at. Kind of like watching me dance, but here we have a vibrant, manic world. It serves as a really fun backdrop, making every moment-to-moment scene way more delightful and fun. And then we get Jeff Goldblum and T. Stark, our leads. Two characters whose core trait include, no matter what I say, I'm gonna say it in a weird and really funny way. They're two charismatic characters, and so the writers paid a lot more attention to their dialogue, and had a lot more fun with it, a grace that was not given to my girl Nebula, whose every utterance is kind of like the whirring of a fan. A really well voice-acted fan, but bad writing. The effect this has is it makes every moment a lot more interesting, because no matter what they're saying, even if it's just exposition, is still really entertaining. People are saying entertaining things in front of entertaining backgrounds. It's everything that episode 1 wasn't. But what if Captain Carter? But again, the idea of doing sequels to previous What If episodes is just absolutely fantastic. A lot of these premises are so strong that they have much more than 20 minutes in them. I'm looking at you, zombies. But are you telling me that a human person with a soul looked at season 1 and thought, yes, this is the best episode to give a sequel? Captain Carter. Must be that wind tunnel again. See, now that we're in the back half of the season, we're going to get into What If Season 2's divine sin of thinking it needs A, a protagonist, and B, a relatable one. We'll get back to this. Captain Carter is absolutely fantastic, don't get me wrong, but neither she nor I benefit from Marvel trying to force her up my butt. Her character does not hold up well to this much screen time. This episode is fine, but nothing special. C. Come on, part 2 for zombies. It's such a fun setting. Fun might not be the right word. Kahori. Kahori has a great design, beautiful powers, an emotionally resonant backstory. I mean, come on, her two defining traits is that she likes friendship and dislikes slavery. Boom! Done! Perfect. A great core to build a character around. I love it. No way to fuck it up, but oh, damn it. See, let's look at those two traits again. Likes friendship, dislikes slavery. You know what that is? My bloody baseline for a person. The minimum possible standard for a person to meet. What it is not is a personality, and sadly Kahori was not given one. My girl deserves better than this. I like Kahori. I love her design, her powers, and this is a great setup for a hero. What it absolutely is not is a what if. This is Happy Hogan syndrome again. This is just an origin story. She could easily exist in the Marvel Prime timeline. She could have her own TV show. She could have a movie. She would be better for it. With more screen time, she might actually develop a character. Yeah, these ideas need time to breathe, time to develop. She deserves better than this. She deserves better than What If. And What If deserves better than her. Both are utterly great, but not together. I love the idea, but this is not the place for it. Both shows end up being kind of a mess by being forced together. See. What if Hela got thawed? The only truly great episode of Season 2. Hela, goddess of death and asshole, just cannot stop making bad choices. In the first 10 minutes, Zhu Wenwu, fucking nailed it, offers her the option of being polite and heterosexual for the rest of the episode, to which Hela tries to murder and rob a man who has been nothing but kind to her. It's not the right thing to do, but it is far more fun to watch. This woman is addicted to failure. We are watching a woman constantly screw up her every interaction. This would be a horror movie if not for the fact that she constantly bounces back from her every bad choice, with nothing but a sly smile and far too much unearned confidence. It's the perfect recipe for making someone likable. I will explain. Step 1. She's an asshole. This means that she makes weird choices that we wouldn't make in her situation. This makes her very interesting to watch, if unlikable. However, because she's constantly met with failure and humiliation at every turn, you kinda end up rooting for her. The horrible luck kinda balances out the evil. And then, this is the most important step, the secret spice. It's her attitude. By having her constantly recover with such vibrance and love of life, you kinda end up admiring her. I wish I could bounce back the way she does. I contemplate walking into the ocean, and that's just when I lose my 50-50. No, this is absolutely what Marvel What If should be. The entire premise of the episode is, what if the world's worst person had to learn mercy? Fun, it's dumb, it's silly, it's emotionally resonant. 10 out of 10. Great episode. Except for the title. Who the hell did that? Hela does not find the 10 rings. That's like saying I found the Americas. The 10 rings were right there, on his wrists, already found. No, the story isn't about the 10 rings at all. It's about Hela's journey. Come on, it's not even difficult. What if Hela got thawed? Fun, silly, interesting. It not only gives the premise, but also the tone. Great title. Come on, Marvel, hire me. I have no qualifications and I've read all of Homestuck. I'll even bring my own goggles for the wind tunnel. Fantastic work, fantastic episode. A. What if Avengers 1602? Ah, now there's a premise. Medieval Avengers, that is so much fun. Too bad this episode isn't about that. Now, this continues Season 2's weird obsession with trying to have a protagonist, and its weirder choice of having Peggy be that protagonist. Don't get me wrong, I love Captain Carter, but she's good, but 5 episodes kinda good? She's fun, I'm glad to see her again, but I don't want her in every episode. She's good for 1, maybe 2. I don't want her in my closet, ground into my food, at my dinner table, dressed as my dead wife. The entire premise of the series is that it's a loose collection of episodic adventures with one big team-up at the end. Turning this into the animated adventures of Captain Carter through the multiverse is, well, it's much more boring. But if that's what you want, then fight that! Boring's fine! Just cancel What If and make the show that you're so attached to. Don't make Peggy murder What If and wear its skin. It's awkward, and all the blood will ruin my good drapes. This episode's mid. We'll get back to why they're using Peggy so much in the last episode. There's a reason, it's just not a good one. I'm all for serialized storytelling. In fact, I don't generally like episodic shows very much. But the trick is, I, like every person on Earth, like serialized content when it's done well, and this isn't that. What If structure explained? We give up on telling one big story with all of the build-up and payoff that affords, and in exchange we get to tell short stories who make up for the lack of time through the strength of premise alone. And then we make up for that loss of long-form storytelling by having a big, no-holds-barred, silly team-up fight at the end of the season. It's a great structure. I don't know why they threw it out so they could be more bland and generic. C. What am I kidding? I do know why they did that, and we'll get to it now. Ah, the season finale. What if we ruined Doctor Strange? A bold choice for a premise, I know. What can I say? The writers have courage. Man, what is it with Marvel and forgetting their magic users' character development? We went right back to episode 1. Now, if you will permit a little bit of a nostalgia, let's remember way back to season 1. You remember how the very peak of that season was getting to see the strongest magic user go to town on a fully Infinity Stone powered character? The fight was so creative, fun. This was just laser beams. Infinity Stone combat and all magic combat should not be replicable with laser guns. It's a waste of a premise. If you want to do lasers, do lasers. But the point of having a broad, colorful, and creative magic system like Doctor Strange, or the Infinity Stones, is to have a broad array of colorful and creative spells. Coincidentally, this is also why you don't like the fights in Harry Potter, because they are horrible, except this one. I know it's harder to be creative, but that's what If is all about! That's the selling point! They even said so on the interviews. You have a mountain of shows and movies about guy punching guy, or guy shoots guy. But magic combat should be more special than this. What If is animated and not constrained by canon. This is literally the perfect time and place to cut loose. I know this because the writers went on record and said that that was the entire point of the show, to do what they could not do in live action and within the normal canon. If you wanted a big climax of all the story's most interesting characters being interesting together, it would be Ultron World, Black Widow, Strange Supreme, Merciful Hela, Boy Racer Stark, and Puddle Grandmaster. And Darcy would be there too. But if your tunneling brain parasite makes you so insistent on making Strange the villain this arc, then fine, we can work with that. We can bring it together. Yeah, checks out. We want to bring back characters who have a relation to Strange for more impact. And for that, Carter's a great choice. You could even bring back the whole gang. You even have most of the voice actors anyway. Make this a giant part 2, emotionally devastating finale. Go the whole hog. But nah, it's just Cap and Strange and Kahori. And fine, you don't trust yourself to write that many characters. Smaller, more intimate stories are great too. Let's do that. But then why staple Kahori here? She doesn't know these people. Kahori does not care. She's too busy kicking slavers in the dick and playing high-speed, non-consensual exfoliation. My girl is never allowed to voice any interesting point on this conflict. She's not exactly the deepest pool of character to draw on, even in the best of times. But her backstory is profoundly upsetting, and her powers are cool. You could do something interesting with this, but if you insist on putting her here, then let the woman speak, or just show her the door. Because this half step they're doing right now is just awful for everyone involved. Now, back to fixing this. You wanted an ensemble story with an emotional through line. The idea being that you really pull on my blackened heartstrings by having Captain Carter be the emotional core of the story, having her constantly lose Steve. It's a good idea, because her main villain, Strange, and his villainy, is rooted in grief, his obsession with his dead heterosexual love interest. Carter, also grieving and heterosexual, makes good counterpoint. It's a classic. He can't accept loss. The villain is a dark reflection of the hero. Standard stuff, fantastic, works well. But the thing is, Carter never struggles. She makes no mistakes. She's always heroic and just and makes the right choices. We're meant to buy that she's incredibly attached to Steve, that she's lost him by the end of this season 4 times now? Each time getting more painful, more heartbroken, but no, I don't buy that she cares that much about Steve. She's great at grief. She tosses out Steve with the morning garbage. She'd probably cut the man's throat just to cut in line. She's great with getting rid of Steve, does it all the time, does it 3 times before she even came to meet Strange. If she had constantly failed, struggled with her grief, and was only in the end, in the final moment, able to bring together the strength to do the right thing, that she had been living with the consequences of her failure, that she had finally accepted her loss and been able to move forward, and done what Strange never could, that would be cathartic. That's a great ending to this. The character we watched fail over and over had finally learned, finally grown, it had all come together, every moment, every poor choice, all made her strong enough for this moment. But nah, she never fails, never struggles. None of it matters, it was all a huge waste of time. Hela is a character who struggles. Strange is a character who struggles. Carter is not well written enough to carry 2 episodes, let alone 5. Come on, Marvel. Let the writers out of the wind tunnel. This is how you make beloved icons into characters people hate. See, Hela is a character who fails. She's a cartoonishly evil Disney villain who, by some huge cosmic mistake, is now the lead in a morality tale and is dragged kicking and screaming towards personal growth. And don't get me wrong, there's no one way to tell a story. If you want to keep Captain Carter as the protagonist, as an perfect paragon who makes no mistakes, who's flawless and fantastic, that's great! I watch shonen anime, I love these kinds of protagonists. Great protagonists. Your Gokus, your Narutos, they can work really well. If you want her to be shonen, make her shonen. But you can't write her as a shonen protagonist and then expect her to hold up an ending for a traditional hero's journey story. That moment when she gives up on Steve and the illusion and finally overcomes it, that was meant to be impactful. Don't know why they expect that. We've seen her throw this man away like 4 different times this season. She was clearly going to do the right thing. Really, it was just a waste of time we could have spent doing more cool fight scene shit if you really want her to be a shonen protagonist. I don't know how many writers they had on this show, but I definitely get the feeling from this kind of confused and hollow storytelling that it was a symptom of group committee. Oh, this is hard to rate. Definitely had probably some of the better fight scenes in the series, good animation, but man, the plot just ruined previously established shit. It's not just bad, it made everything else worse. D. Nah. Fights were cool. C. Later.